Drew here. We're out here at Santa Monica Pier. We are actually on the pier having conversations with people. We got midterms coming up. We want to see if people actually know their American history. Who truly does have the most racist origins? The Democrats or the Republicans? Well, we got midterms coming up November, early voting's coming in October. I just have some questions for the public out here, Santa Monica. Okay. So here's the question, okay? Regardless your political background, which political party, let's just pick the two most popular in the US, right? Democrat, Republican. Which one do you believe has the most racist origins? And why?
You know what, I'd probably say Republican. I would say Republican just because historically that's what you think of. Yeah, but I say Republican just based on the current reputation.
Your opinion, who do you think has the most racist origins? The Republicans or the Democrats?
Well, I think the Republicans, which are like the most conservative people. I'm right there, right?
Why?
Well, Trump is from he's a Republican, right?
Yeah, Trump is a Republican. We got midterms coming up, elections, stuff like that. So I just want your opinion, bro, your honest opinion.
Okay.
Between the Democrats and the Republicans, the most popular political parties in the United States.
Right.
Which do you think has the most racist origins?
What I would say, you probably think I'm biased, so I'm going to say Republican.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Republican. My opinion, I think Republican.
Why?
Just because I'm a Democrat.
So I want to ask you guys your opinion, okay? Let's talk about American history. Who do you guys think? Let's pick the two most popular political parties in the United States. Democrats, Republicans, right? Who do you think has the most racist origins?
Democrats.
Democrats.
Ditto. Democrats.
Democrats. Republicans.
I'm a Democrat.
Okay, now why? Why do you think the Democrats?
Hey, because like they be picking on people because of their skin color. And have you seen a black Democrat? I don't think so. I haven't seen any.
Barack Obama was a black Democrat.
Sure, that's the only one.
So why do you honestly believe that Republicans are more racist, or their origins are more racist than Democrats? Like an honest opinion, why?
Well, it's pretty much about like your household. Your household, however you're raised, you know? You pretty much take after your parents, so whatever your parents do or you see your parents doing or whatever your parents are saying, telling you, that's what you know, so that's what you go with.
Okay, so you said Republicans, okay, so why?
Because of Donald Trump. He's racist.
Okay, why?
He said some pretty crappy stuff about black people, Mexicans.
What'd he say?
I forgot, but I remember.
So you're calling someone a racist?
What did he say? He said something for sure. I forgot. I've heard it like a million times.
So if I come out and say that you raped my little sister, that's okay for you even though I don't remember it?
I definitely did not rape your little sister.
So is it okay to accuse someone of something and you can't even tell them what they did?
No, it's not right.
So is he a racist, yes or no?
I don't know, but fine. No, he's not. No, he's not.
So you have to have some kind of evidence to accuse someone of such a serious charge, because if I run around telling people that they're racists, that's a pretty serious thing.
Right.
What if I were to go into your school and I would tell all your friends, all the girls, that you are a pedophile, and it wasn't true, How would you feel about that?
I wouldn't feel good about that.
So do you think it's right to call the president a racist and you can't even back up any evidence to promote your claim?
No, that's not right. I'm sorry, Donald Trump.
So you think the Republicans have a more racist origins,
Yes.
the way they started?
Yeah, I think they have the most racism, like, basis.
Cool. Well, I'm just gonna give you a couple facts, okay? Have you ever studied the Civil War, pre-Civil War, what was going on in America before? There was a gigantic, huge Supreme Court decision in the mid-1800s. The decision was, should we allow African Americans to be free American citizens, or should they continue to be slaves? So there was a Supreme Court decision to be made. There was 9 justices to make the decision, okay? 7 of them said, and they voted, no, African Americans should not be free. They should continue to be slaves. Only 2 voted yes, they should be free. They should have free rights. They shouldn't be considered slaves. They should be considered free Americans like us. The 7 that voted, do you know what political party they belong to?
Republicans?
They were Democrats.
No.
Yeah, the two that voted that they should be free individuals were Republicans. Back before the Civil War, when the Democratic Party and the Republicans actually had a vote on Congress,
Right.
when it had to do with African Americans and whether they should be considered free citizens or
Right.
continue to be slaves, there was 9 justices on that Supreme Court. Only 7 of them voted no, African Americans should continue to be slaves,
Wow.
and only 2 voted yes, they should be free. Do you know what party that those 7 belong to?
I'm guessing Republican.
No, they were Democrats.
Were? Okay.
So is that literally why you think the Republicans are racist?
Yeah.
That's the only reason why.
Yeah.
Not really smart.
Oh, and I remember why. Because I just remembered. Because he wants to block off all the Mexicans and build a big old wall, and he starts putting them in their own little spot. Well, it's sort of. It's about
Well, he actually said some illegal Mexicans.
but yeah, and the Muslim things about the airport, I didn't.
How many terrorist attacks have we had?
But I talked.
That's what I said. How many terrorist attacks have we had?
I don't know.
What religion is the majority of the terrorist attacks from?
I don't know. It could be white people too.
Well, statistically, no. Radical Islamic terrorism is a problem in the world.
Yeah, it is. It is.
You don't see a lot of Mexicans coming over the border and blowing people up, or white people. It's Islamic terrorism. I'm going to drop a couple facts on you, okay? I don't know if you know this, but before the Civil War, right, mid-1800s, there was a gigantic, huge vote regarding African Americans, whether they should be considered as free Americans with free rights, just like all other Americans, okay? So the vote consisted of 9 justices on the Supreme Court. 7 voted no. African Americans should not be considered free human beings. They should continue to be slaves. Only 2 voted yes. They should be considered free human beings. They should have free rights. Do you know what political party that the 7 belong to?
Republicans.
Nope, Democrats.
Oh, wait, no, I mean,
The actual Republican Party was actually started as the anti-slavery party back before the Civil War. So if you were living, like if you and I were living in those days, right, and the Republicans and the Democrats were out, the Democratic Party would actually be the pro-slavery party, and the Republican Party was actually the anti-slavery party. So
Wow.
that's a historical American fact.
That's surprising. I'm surprised to hear that. Wow.
And I don't know if you know this, but the actual Republican Party was part of the major reason it was formed was because they were to be the anti-slavery party before the days of the Civil War. So if you and I were around during those days, right?
Right.
All of that. The actual pro-slavery party
Right.
would have been the Democratic Party, and the anti-slavery party was the Republican Party. Did you know any of that?
No, I didn't. That's new news for me.
If you and I were alive during those days, the actual pro-slavery party was the Democratic Party. Part of the reason the Republican Party was formed was because they were to be the anti-slavery party. So what do you think about that?
Well, I think that the media shows what they want to show. You know, the media has a really important role in society, and maybe that's how. Because if you see the news, you'll see we all hate the Republicans.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, it's because of the fact of what Trump has said, and I think it's becoming stronger with him being in the power. But yeah,
Do you know who Abraham Lincoln is?
Yeah, he was a Republican. I just said that.
Do you know he was assassinated?
Yes, I did.
By who?
John Wilkes Booth,
Yes. What political party did he belong to?
Republican.
Nope, Democrat.
Was he really?
Do you know an individual by the name of Abraham Lincoln?
Yeah.
He was a Republican. Did you know that?
Not really, no.
He was the most pro-anti-slavery
Right, yeah, I
United
know that.
States. You know he was assassinated, right?
Yeah, I know.
You know by who?
No, I don't.
He was assassinated by a gentleman by the name of John Booth.
I know he was assassinated a couple days, like a couple weeks after he was trying to, free the slaves, right?
Yeah. Do you know who John Booth, what political party he belonged to?
No, I don't.
He was a Democrat.
Really?
And I don't know if you know this, but Abraham Lincoln's vice president,
Right.
Andrew Johnson,
Uh-huh.
he came into power after him,
Right.
and he attempted to overthrow everything that Abraham Lincoln accomplished,
Right, I knew that.
even the amendments that fought for African Americans to be free citizens in the U.S. Do you know what party Andrew Johnson belonged to?
Republican?
He was a Democrat.
Democrat? Okay.
You know, have you heard of the KKK?
I have.
You haven't?
Yeah, I have.
Okay, you know the
In
individual.
America.
Did you know the founder of the KKK? Do you know what political party he belonged to? Democrat.
Democrat? Holy f***. This motherfucker put some knowledge on me.
Do you know who Abraham Lincoln is?
Yeah.
Do you know what political party he belonged to?
No.
He was a Republican. Did you know how he died?
No.
He was assassinated. He was shot in the head, cold blood, in a theater. He was killed. He was murdered. Now, Abraham Lincoln was a Republican that fought for free rights for slaves to be considered Americans. He was murdered by an individual by the name of John Booth. Do you know what political party that John Booth belonged to? He was a Democrat. And to make matters worse, do you know who Abraham Lincoln's vice president was at the time? His name was Andrew Johnson. Do you know what he did after he was assassinated?
No.
Andrew Johnson actually fought to overturn everything that Abraham Lincoln had done for African Americans to have free rights and to become citizens. Even the 3 amendments that were set in place, Andrew Johnson, as a Democratic vice president taking power, attempted to overthrow everything Abraham Lincoln had done, and he was a Democrat.
Well, that's impressive. I didn't know that.
Do you know who was Abraham Lincoln's vice president at the time?
Oh, no, I don't.
Andrew Johnson. Okay, do you know what he did after he was assassinated?
He didn't kill himself.
Politically?
He went into power, right? He was the president.
He attempted to overthrow everything that Abraham Lincoln had accomplished for African Americans to have free rights. And the 3 amendments that were established for that, he attempted to overthrow those again so that African Americans can become slaves again. Now, do you know what political party he belonged to?
Republican.
Democrat.
Democrat. Holy crap. Democrat.
Pretty shocking, huh? I'm gonna give you one more. Have you ever heard of the Civil Rights Act?
I remember a little bit of it.
1960s, you know how America was all segregated? Blacks can only use that bathroom, whites can only use that bathroom, all that crazy, stupid junk that we finally are getting over, right? Civil Rights Act. The Civil Rights Act fought against that, okay, in the United States. Now, during that time, the political parties and the political climate of that time, the only opposition that was coming against that act for African Americans to be a part of the workforce, no more segregation, which party do you think was offering and providing the only opposition against that? The Republicans or the Democrats? Now, this is an American historical fact. Which one?
Republicans.
Democrat. Last one, okay? 1960s Civil Rights Act, right?
Right.
Pushing to abolish segregation, stupid things like separate water fountains for blacks and whites,
Right.
fighting against that, the civil rights movement, right? There was a Civil Rights Act that was promoted, right, in the United States. Now, all of the opposition that came against that, it came from a specific political party, and it was the Democratic Party. And the Republicans were the ones that actually wanted to fight against segregation and fight against, blacks and whites and being separated. And it was actually the Democratic Party that was opposed to it. Did you know that?
I didn't. I didn't know that.
So how do you feel that the party that you said you're a Democrat, so how do you feel that the literal origins of the political party that you're a part of was literally anti-African American to begin with? And they get your vote.
I don't have a choice.
1960s, the Civil Rights Act, right? There's a bunch of segregation in the United States of America. Whites, African Americans using separate bathrooms, separate water fountains, just stupid stuff, right? The 1960s, the Civil Rights Act is pushing to end that. Free rights for all Americans, no segregation, we are all equal. While that was going out in the United States, in the political world, the only opposition of wanting to stop that didn't come from the Republicans. This is in the 1960s. It came from the Democrats. The Democrats did not want segregation to end. The Democrats were fighting to put an end to the Civil Rights Act in the 1960s. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say there's no racists in the Republican Party, but the Democratic Party literally has a track record and a history of making racist policies, fighting for racist policies, and even making racist statements from racist sitting Democratic United States presidents. Do you think that has anything to do with how the Democratic Party is always claiming to be the party of the minorities?
Yeah.
The party of the blacks, the party of the Mexicans, the party of the minorities. If you're a minority, if you're African American, you vote for the Democrats.
Yeah.
Do you think that has anything to do with maybe why we think that way as minorities?
Yeah, a lot. Now that you say that, I think that it has to do a lot. So like I think right now they're just claiming all these positive things, like us minorities feel like support, like to forget, and maybe like to never try to even investigate or research about their past and to find this out.
So like you said, I think it's good for us to really do our research and do our homework before we kind of like make statements. And to be honest with you, historically speaking, in the United States of America, the Democratic Party does have the most racist origins, because the Republican Party was actually originally formed to be the anti-slavery party. So, and you can fact check me. This is American history. So what do you think about all that? Does it cause you to think differently? Does it cause you to kind of like reconsider some things?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think this really like changes my mind. Like maybe not to like to choose the Democrat completely or to support their bases completely, but maybe like just to remake my ideas about what to think about the Republicans, and like I mean not to believe on everything that social media and just the general media says about something specifically. So yeah.